Sean Strickland the biggest yapper in the UFC? For some reason, before every single fight, he's saying, let's go to war, Dutchman, let's go to war, you fucking Brazilian. But then it comes to fight night, and it's all a teep, jab, 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 right hand, left check, hook, jab. That's a lot of the offense that Sean Strickland is producing, and even Dana White somewhat like referenced it here. Like, he's just talking about, now again, Dana White wasn't being negative here, but he does kind of go out and say, well, for a guy that talks like that, like, he definitely doesn't fight like it. Is this all part of a game plan? Is this just part of mind games? Let's just listen to Dana White and see what exactly he had to say.
The way that he acts leading up to fights, right? Normally when you have people who act the way that he acts, you see signs of it in a fight. Who is more focused, professional, and solid in a fight than he is?
For a guy that comes out there and says, let's go to war, like, I'm gonna bleed for you fuckers over here, I'm gonna die for you guys. For someone that says all that stuff, the words you wouldn't be expecting to hear are professional, focused, technical, like all these things. While they're good for a fighter to have in that skill set, for a war, you need someone who goes out there and swings and bangs with someone. You know, you need someone that's just absolutely wild. Even someone like Paulo Costa. Like now, Paulo Costa got a lot of hate for his last fight against Strickland because he just didn't do anything. But it takes two to tango. Strickland didn't really let him do anything. Like, his style is so predicated on shutting his opponents down by swarming them with pressure. But not the type of pressure that can finish you. It's just the type of pressure that's just going to get you rounds in the bag and multiple rounds at one after the other. So it's not like it's really like, you know, you can't really blame Costa. Like, the game plan for Strickland was to basically shut him down and let him do anything. Mission accomplished. Let's continue.
You know, when he gets hurt, no sticking out the tongue or no, that didn't hurt me, anything. The guy stays focused, keeps coming forward.
That's true. For a guy that says, let's go to fucking war. He broke his nose. He didn't actually do nothing crazy. He just tried to fix his nose, back off, and then just do the same thing in the 5th round. No violence, nothing crazy, nothing like, oh my god, I'm losing this round, let me just quickly come back and win this, let's go wild now. There was 10 seconds and he had a little bit of a flurry in the last 10 seconds of the 5th round. But other than that, you wouldn't really call that a warrior, a guy who's just hell-bent on getting the win no matter what. You look at him and you'd be like, that's Sean Strickland.
There's never any hint of how he acts outside the octagon when he's in there. Absolute professional the whole time. It's actually fascinating. I don't know if I've ever seen that with a guy who acts the way he does leading up to fights.
It must just be his happy place or something.
Huh?
It must be his happy place.
I don't know. Or this is all, you know what I mean?
Dana White does adhere to the fact this is all just an act. This is how you get people invested. This is how you make money. That's basically what Dana White said. And when he just goes, well, or maybe this is all, what is this all? This is all probably fake and an act. It's something that we can potentially see this as.
I've never seen a guy so solid and professional. Gets his nose broke, snaps it back into place and keeps fighting. Gets hit with some nasty shots. When he gets hit with big shots, he doesn't start shaking his head and doing all the goofy things that people like that do. I mean, you can go into any combat sport and you've seen it. Nobody was more professional during the fight than this guy is. It's fascinating, actually.
It is crazy. He's so professional. He's always like, this fucking guy, man. This Dutch man, let's stand up and shake on it. We're going to go to war. In fact, Sean Strickland said he wants the fight to be standing completely because he doesn't want any bullshit like takedowns to take away from the fight. And for the most part, the fight was standing. Strickland attempted a takedown of his own, I think, or like grappled against with him. But that was it. For the most part, on the feet. DDP went for a takedown, got it for a bit, and then he got back up on the feet, most of it. 98% at least. Now what happened? Where was the war? Where's the violence? Where's the crazy Clay Guida kind of exchange at the start of the round? We're just going bo, 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 and it's just going absolute madness. Nothing of that sort. Absolutely nothing of that sort. It's a whole lot of yapping and not enough clapping. Clapping cheeks. His opponent's cheeks. Now, we're going to take a quick look at something very interesting, actually. Okay, let's go from the beginning. Let's look at Sean Strickland and his tweets. First of all, the man says, "Time for war, Dutchman," referring to Dricus du Plessis. Where's the war? Time for war, Dutchman? You're losing the fight, and all you're doing is just jabbing and teeping from a distance or trying to evade the guy. trying to avoid danger, trying to avoid damage. In the 5th round, when you're down, you know you have to just go for the Hail Mary. Doesn't do that until the last 10 seconds where he does it like in a safe manner, let's be honest here. Listen, Drickus, I'm gonna need you to be a fucking man and stand up. I need you like to wrestle and you like to choke people out and do some man-on-man stuff. But I'll make a pact with you. You make a pact with me that we effing stand up and like effing men and we settle this shite like men. I mean, I'll be honest with you. I saw this comment somewhere, so I can't even take advantage of it and say that it's my own. But I saw someone say, Sean Strickland has basically mastered the art of laying on bottom while standing. And that's so true. I swear to God, it's so true. Either laying on bottom or laying on top. And just point decisioning a fight. Like, I'm not, like, listen, it's very effective. It's very, very, very effective. He's won a lot of fights using that style. He beat Israel Adesanya on the slide now, but, you know, he beat Israel Adesanya back before the slide. But now, it just, Imavov on short notice, 205-pound weight limit. Really good wins here and there. But then we look at it and we're just thinking, it's not the fighting style that we're critiquing. It's the fact that he claims to be a warrior, a fighter, an alpha male, an apex predator. But reality is, he's going to go out there, jab, 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 teep kick, jab, 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 left hook, jab, 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 right, left, right, left, right, left, right, left, right, left. That's a lie. He doesn't throw that many right lefts. More jabs and then more tape kicks. That's his right left. Jab and teep kick. But now let's examine something further though. Let's look at some of the wins that he's had on the run up to his high level fights. Let's be honest here. Like, these are the fights that he had against ranked opponents on this big run that he's been on recently. Let's look at the war. Uriah Hall, one of the most boring fights on one of the worst cards of that year. Because that was such a weak main event and they just threw Uriah Hall and Sean Strickland together. And basically what we got was a fairly boring fight where Strickland does shut out Uriah Hall. Don't get me wrong, he beats him up bad. But again, a very non-finishing kind of performance. Jack Hermanson, another very boring fight where he's like, towards the end of the fight, he's like, come on, Jack, I'll give you a chance, come on. Like, by the end, it's too late. It's too late to have a war. These cool moments where you're chatting to them, like, don't get me wrong, during the Apex era of Strickland, he was a chatter. He was talking to his opponents, this fucking guy and all that stuff. We saw that. But what happened? Another boring decision fight. On the feet, he shuts down Jack Hermanson. And again, I'm not saying don't fight like this because it's not entertaining enough and you gotta fight exactly like how I like to see my fights. What I'm saying is, for the kind of fight that Sean Strickland himself proclaims / likes himself, he don't fight like that. He don't, these grappling guys, they're all shit and terrible. They're ruining the sport. Let's stand and bang like a man. First of all, you are basically laying on bottom while on your feet. That's the craziest thing about all of this. And second of all, this isn't a random... You're not good enough to be a kickboxer. You know it, I know it, everybody knows it. But you're not good enough to be like a collegiate wrestler, or not even a collegiate, a good grappler in MMA, or a great grappler. Like, you have good takedown defense, elite takedown defense actually. And you, offensively, you're not too bad as a wrestler, but you're not good enough to make that as base part of your game. So now what we have is Strickland calling anyone that doesn't strike a pussy, while basically laying on bottom while standing on his feet. Next up, Alex Pereira. This is a weird one because Alex Pereira does KO Sean Strickland. So in this case, Sean Strickland doesn't get his way, gets KO'd. Exciting performance. So far we've got one exciting performance, 2 decisions, and the exciting performance came early into the first round because Alex Pereira is just a monster and he just KO'd Strickland. Do we give Strickland credit for that? I don't think we should, but whatever. Next up, Jared Cannonier. Another fight. Again, it wasn't the most boring fight ever, but again, and a very tit-for-tat fight. On the feet, Strickland trying to implement his game plan. No war is being had. No massive strikes, no shots that look like they're going to knock somebody out. On the feet, boop, boop, my turn, your turn, now it's my turn, your turn. Oh, what's that? You're pushing forward, blitzing? Let me just quickly back off for a bit, and now I can go back to what I was doing. A lot of that in that fight. We can go either way. Strickland, Cannonier had a very close fight. I thought Cannonier won, but whatever. What do we say about that one? War? Question mark? No? Nasruddin Imavov? War? Question mark? I mean, listen, he shut down Nasruddin Imavov very easily, don't get me wrong. But not a fight that you're immediately thinking, oh yeah, that was a good one. it was okay. It was a main event, and it was a Strickland's fights are known to be decent fights. If you like how does Strickland fight, you'd be like, oh, how good will it? You know what? I'm going to see a Sean Strickland pay-per-view. What am I to expect? You would say it would be a decent fight. Like, those would be your exact words. Decent fight. It can be boring at times, but you know, if you're really looking at the technique and how good Sean Strickland implements his game plan, like, you're really going to be entertained if you're a real fan of MMA. And it's basically what you're going to hear. But anyway, Nasser Nurmagomedov, another fight that isn't a crazy war. It's just, Next up, Abus Magomedov. They shot Abus Magomedov right up the ass with a rocket and shot him way high to the division than he should have been. This was a fun fight. He shut down Abus. Abus eye poked him, comes back, destroys Abus. Abus, more like Anus, honestly, because the guy was ass. The guy is absolutely ass. He's not high level whatsoever. Very much an unranked guy in the division that can be a gatekeeper to the ranked contenders in the division. But overall, as a fighter, Abus, listen, and the reason I use his high level wins is because these aren't guys that are just going to get schmucked over. Abus is definitely a guy that's going to get schmucked over. And listen, I can give Strickland credit for having a fun fight, but it was against a very, very low level opponent. And if is that what's going to take? Either Strickland has to get knocked out, or just destroy a really lower level guy that is nowhere near his level. Is that what it takes to have a war, quote unquote? Or anything resembling one? Next up, Adesanya. Shuts down Adesanya. It was very exciting to watch at the time just because it was like, oh my god, Strickland's doing what? But in hindsight, let's be honest, Adesanya, that fight wasn't crazy. If you didn't know who Adesanya and Strickland were and you just watched them fight, you'd be like, it's decent. There's a knockdown early into the first round. Early into the fight in the first round. But overall, as a fight, it's nothing crazy. So Adesanya playing his game, backing off. Strickland going forward, jab. Not really chasing a finish, but just putting enough pressure to just always be sticking something into Adesanya's face. Another non-war, Paulo Costa. Terrible fight, considering Paulo Costa has exciting fights more often than not, almost all the time. Sean Strickland pulled out a random ass dud out of his ass for that fight, and then afterwards blamed Paulo Costa, and it was like, oh, well, it takes two to tango. I came to fight, Paulo Costa didn't. That little dirty Brazilian and all that stuff. But Paulo Costa, you know, he was shut down again. Like, other than the last, 15 seconds of that fight where you were like, Paulo Costa's no threat to me, let me just fucking put a highlight on him. There was no excitement. I was one of the most I was so excited for that fight. I was just ended up being so boring. It was such an incredibly boring fight, and I can't believe this was like the let's go to war, you dirty Brazilian. Like, all the talking, all the press conference, the amazing moments we get. That's the thing. If Strickland was a KO artist, like, the guy would have a massive fan base, but he just isn't. He just doesn't have wars. He doesn't have fight of the year contenders. In fact, more often than not, he has fights where you're thinking, wow, did this fight really ruin the main card? Like, the Paulo Costa fight just completely sucked anything out of that card. That card was dead in the water, don't get me wrong. The Dustin Poirier Islam fight card. But that thing was just floating like a dead body down the river. Next up, the two DDP fights. The most recent DDP fight was a sham, honestly. Strickland didn't show up to fight at all, it felt like, at points. After the first 2 rounds, after he broke his nose, basically, he just quit. And before that, it wasn't a crazy fight. It was just one of those fights that's just close, so your mind is thinking, this is alright, I'll watch it for a little bit longer. Same with the first Dricus fight. Now, that fight is kind of revered at one fight of the night. Weird, I don't think it deserved to whatsoever. It was just close enough where you're thinking, who won? It wasn't a crazy fight. Like, you weren't excited for the next round. You weren't thinking, oh wow, these rounds, they're so close, but they're so dangerous. Like, they can go either way. I can see a finish at any moment I want to in this fight. Like, oh, this next round, okay, come on, Strickland, let's put some damage, try to go for the finish. It was never that. It was DDP who was trying to go for the big shots. It was DDP trying to go for the takedowns. Strickland was just going to play his game. And from Strickland's behalf, that was only the closest thing he's had to a war in this entire stretch that wasn't against a complete shambles of an opponent or him himself getting knocked out early. This was the closest thing, the first Dricus du Plessis fight, to a war that he had. And it was just because it was close and Dricus just brought it to him. Dricus du Plessis is not going to back down for nobody, right? And that's it. And that's Sean Strickland. The guy will claim to have wars. The guy will go off on Twitter like, oh, this guy is fucking fighting. I'm gonna fucking fall asleep. I can't believe it. I fucking took my Saturday off to watch this shit. But in fact, like, most often than not, like, if it wasn't for his personality, I get it. Like, at the start, Strickland was the anti-personality guy. Like, not the, like, in the terms of, like, he isn't the kind of personality that you see succeeding, but he is like a personality that the fans can just get behind. But now it's just like, well, he's just the personality guy. The fighting style just ain't there. And he's just gone over. I'm not going to get into this right now, but maybe I'll make a video on this down the line. But God, have you noticed that Strickland's entire personality is now just political views? It wasn't this before. It was just like Strickland being Strickland with a hint of racism, a hint of sexism. No, not really. I don't actually think he's racist, but just a hint of that stuff. Like a hint of his political views. And now it's just like, oh my God, can you stop talking about fucking Donald Trump on Twitter? Like, can we leave China out of this conversation for 2 seconds? Like, we're trying to talk about you and your opponent. Like, someone will trash Strickland on Twitter and then he's replying with, you're a fucking communist, man. Like, not in a hateful way, like, it's not joking me. Yeah, or something like that. It's weird. But the war man is no longer the war man. The war cries have died down. Sean Strickland, I'm sorry. The hype is dead. Just kidding. It's not. But it is. I don't think he's going to get back to the title anytime soon. Or ever, really. Chow Brow might be next for him. Anyway, like, share, and subscribe to this video. I'm at 233 subscribers. This channel refuses to grow. But I would love to get to 250. Hit that subscribe button. Hit that like button. Comment down below. Notification. I'm really just shilling myself out to what everyone says on YouTube. But I don't care. I'll see you next time.